right, hello everybody. Welcome back into episode 8 of the Dairyland Collegiate League podcast. Today I am joined by an assistant coach of the 51-0 Red River Athletic Conference champion LSU-Shreveport Pilots, Cy Kerber. Cy, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh yeah, pleasure to be here. Excited to be part of the DCL this summer. Can't get to wait to get to work, and obviously, hopefully, I'll be there maybe a couple games late if we can go all the way with this team here.
Yeah, you said you were hosting the NAIA tournament.
Yeah, the opening round is going to be here, so we just do unlike NCAA Division One. There's the regional, super regional, and then the World Series. And the NAI is just opening round. There's 10 sites. Half of them have 5 teams, half of them have 4. We'll be a 5 team, but we'll host starting next Monday, so a week from today, and hopefully sweep that and buy us a ticket to Lewiston, Idaho for the World Series.
And so just before we start getting any more questions, I'd like to hear about you. So if you could just tell me about yourself and your journey as a baseball coach.
Yeah, as a coach, I mean, I'm pretty new into this. My prior coaching experience before this year was just a 17U travel team. I'm originally from Elgin, Illinois, so about an hour and a half from Milwaukee. So I did USA Prime, Northern Illinois there, 17U for back-to-back years, and then I finished up my college playing career, University of Northwestern Ohio. And I made it very clear to my coaches there that I wanted to get into coaching, especially at the college level, and maybe even beyond one day. But we both finished up our opening rounds last year. We kind of lost tragically. They kind of lost tragically down here, and they happened to be just talking casually on the phone. Our head or our assistant coach at my old school and our head coach here, and he just happened to ask. He's like, "Hey, do you need an assistant? Do you need a young assistant?" He's like, "Absolutely." And I had a couple phone calls with him, and obviously, it wasn't a hard job to take with all the success and everything like that that LSU Shreveport has had, being a top 5 program year in, year out. Obviously, what we've done this year is incredible. I think we've all kind of talked about as a team and staff that we're honestly just speechless. But prior to all the coaching, I mean, I kind of had a wild college playing career. I played at 3 different community colleges, all in the Northern Illinois area between Rock Valley College, Elgin Community College, and Morton College. And then I played at Tennessee Tech University for a year, and then finished up at University of Northwestern Ohio, where that place is still home for me. I love that coaching staff to death. I love the teammates to death. The program, they're still having great success. They're actually playing in a tournament championship game today. So my career has been um, it's been wild. It's been a bumpy road, but I think one of the things that even I said in my interview process coming here was, when I was in it, going through all those different changes and everything like that, a lot of the time it felt like a curse. But now I think it's going to be one of the greatest blessings I've had. And when you add the MLB Draft League and Prospect League into that mix as well, I mean, I've seen baseball on a lot of different levels between junior college, Division One, NAI, and then of course being here, seeing records that in my humble opinion, will never get touched, ever get broken ever again. I mean, this everyone knows, especially if you're a baseball person, that this is a game where baseball is going to baseball you. And I thought there might have been a couple games this year where baseball was going to baseball us, and these guys just find a way to persevere and push through, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I just looking through your guys' schedule, I saw there were a couple close games, but like in this tournament, there were 3 of the 4 games that ended in run rules. Like, could you just talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that kind of thing?
Yeah, it was a weird weekend. Game one, we faced the team, and luckily, it kind of worked out in our case. The arm we threw, who has been our number 2, and we say number 2, but we have 3 number 1s. They could be a number 1s anywhere else in the country, but our number 2 was hurt the weekend we played him, so that was an offense that hadn't seen that arm, and it was a righty who can run up to 94 with a good slider and good changeup split mix. So we cruised pretty well through that. Kind of hit a low point, but we're able to capitalize on some of their mistakes. And then playing Our Lady of the Lake back-to-back games. The first game was weird, and it was kind of like I do a lot of the outfield positioning for in game. I coach first base, so it was one of those games where it was kind of defeating as if you're trying to position outfield because you move them in, they hit it over your heads. You move them back, they dump it in front. So that was one of those things where I say like baseball's gonna baseball. So they actually, I think we were up 7-2, and they came back and put up a 5 spot in I think the seventh inning and tied it. And leadoff guys on are big, and our offense typically goes really well when that leadoff guy gets on, and we can put guys in motion and do things that way. And we were able to draw a leadoff walk, and our 9-hole catcher was able to run one out, give us a 2-run lead, and bullpen held steady from there. So that was fun. And then we came back. They had to play another game to face elimination, and came back and played us, and we just dominated, jumped out early, bats were swinging. It was a smaller park, but regardless, it's a small park for everybody. So we were able to capitalize on that and run some balls out when the timing was right, and then had about an hour break in between games. And the team we played for the championship game we had played last year, or they had played last year, I should say, and lost. And there was a lot of excessive celebrating and motions pointed towards our dugout. And it was one of those things that our head coach was just like, you know, don't say anything, but remember what happened last year. And when we go,
Mm,
bury somebody, remember what happened last year, but do it how we're supposed to do it, not say anything. You know what I mean? So it was
mm.
really fun. I'm glad to see our guys have that kind of success and enjoy those moments because, in all these win streaks and records and, the no hitter being thrown, there hasn't been a lot of celebrating. And it was nice to see them kind of jump around, splash water everywhere, and actually celebrate. But 2 more trophies to get.
So you already kind of mentioned it a little bit, but could you go a little bit more in depth with what exactly is your role down in Shreveport?
So I'm technically a graduate assistant, although I'm not listed as one. I am treated as a full-time coach or full-time assistant coach, I should say. That was one of the big things that Coach Neffendorf really reiterated to me during the interview process and things like that, where I am going to be treated as a full-time assistant, doing full-time assistant things. So my background, I was a catcher and third baseman. So typically I work with our catchers, I work with our infielders. I do a lot of fungo, throw a lot. I'm usually our BP guy on game days, I should say. And I coach first base, so I'm really all around the offensive piece. All the time. I'm in the cages with our guys every day, along with one of our other main assistants, Steve Jones, who does a great job with our hitters. And yeah.
So, how would you say you've grown as both a person and a coach during in your time there?
It's been a challenge to say the least. I think building the boundary between player and coach, because I mean, for the past 20 years of my life, and I'm only 25, but the past 20 years of my life, I've only known being a player. And I think it was easier to do it at the high school travel ball level because they're 17 years old. They don't know as much. They're young, they're dumb, just like, some college kids even. But I think when you're in a program with really high expectations, it's only going to elevate yourself and everybody around you. And I think that's what this place has really done for me. And it's helped me learn a ton about the right way to go about things. I think one of the biggest things that sticks out here between other places I've been is just the pace and the speed and the tempo of which we play at. And you can really see it overwhelming a lot of the opponents that we do play at times, where it's just, simple things is just throwing it around quick, firing it around the infield really, really quick. And that we want the pitcher on the mound, ready to go as that hitter is still walking up to the plate. So it's making them feel rushed. It's making their offense feel rushed. And then, vice versa on the offensive side, we get a lead off on, we're putting guys in motion, we're hitting and running. It helps when our two hole is, hitting 450 with 60 stolen bases or whatever the number is. I mean, his numbers are ridiculous, but there's and it's not just one guy though. I mean, you could use that guy as an example, but it's top to bottom. It's guys coming in off the bench. Our bullpen's been really, really good, and the two things we're leading the country in is pitching and defense. Now our offensive numbers are great. They're record breaking numbers in terms of program records and things like that. But when your pitching's that good, and then you got a really, really good defense behind it that you can rely on and count on, it makes everything a lot easier. As we get in, get out. We haven't had really too many blow up innings. I mean, obviously we had one this past weekend, but um, they don't panic and they're able to just kind of really bounce back really quick for the close games and walk off wins that we have had along the road. It's a group that doesn't quit.
So now switching gears. So you're going to be the head coach this upcoming summer of the Northshore Bobbers.
Yep.
How exactly did you hear about the DCL?
It's actually funny. I found it. I believe I found it on the ABCA job listings. So I found it through there, and there was a couple things that went into where I wanted to be this summer. I know that with my older sister living in Madison, Wisconsin, and she's getting married in beginning of August in Milwaukee. My younger sister plays softball at MSOE. My parents have a place in Wisconsin now, so I knew I kind of wanted to be in that area, and especially for the wedding's sake, because I got other stuff I got to do for the wedding. But I also know that I wanted a opportunity to kind of be at the helm a little bit, and I think just like anyone, there's going to be mistakes. As any coach would make, you're gonna make moves based off the best judgment, things like that. But every once in a while, things aren't going to go your way, and it's hard to believe that right now when we've kind of been through what we're going through now. But I found out through there, and I just sent in my application. I was on the phone with Hayden a few days later and accepted the job about a week later. So I'm super, super excited and pumped to get to Milwaukee.
So what kind of things have you learned in Shreveport that you think you can take over and well up to Wisconsin and help the Bobbers be successful this year?
I think a lot of it from our base running standpoint. I think there's certain things that we do base running wise that I haven't seen in other places, and it's as simple as like a high low we call it, where if a pitcher comes full leg kick with a runner on first, we go. If he goes quick to the plate, it just turns into a fake steal. I think little things like that, adding those things into a system, are really, really valuable. I think I coached our fall World Series team, or my fall World Series team, in the fall, and I made a couple small mistakes because pitching's not my background, and I didn't have a guy ready when I probably should have. I think we had a couple long innings where we were hitting for a while, and my starting pitcher had to kind of sit and wait, sit and wait, sit and wait, and it was kind of one of those lessons where our head coach, and I'm thankful he did this, where he came up to me, he's just like, hey, just future reference when we have long innings and things like that going, it's good to have a guy just on the body and arm so they're ready to jump on the mound if need be. I think a lot of the in-game coaching stuff, managing pitching, is the biggest thing that I want to do. And then the biggest thing I want to take over to the DCL is the tempo, the pace in which we play. And I've had the opportunity to look at a roster. I don't know if those are out officially yet, but I've had the opportunity to look at our roster, and there's a large amount of infielders and outfielders and things like that. And I'm big on, and we're big on here, just playing hard. You can make a mistake, a physical mistake, playing hard. I'm not going to get mad about that. But if you hit a weak pop fly and all of a sudden it drops and you're still standing on first good base because you wanted to dog it down the line, okay, that's a simple decision to take you out and teach you a little bit of a lesson, because the biggest thing is this is not, yes, wins and losses are great. I want to win more than anybody in the DCL, but I want to get these kids developed. I want to make these kids better going into the next year at their respective schools. That's my biggest thing. I want to see them progress as the season goes on. And I mean, how are you going to progress if you're not playing hard? If you're not going, 100 miles an hour all the time?
And so you already kind of touched on it a little bit. I want to use that to segue into my next question. The rosters aren't officially out yet, at least from what I've seen on the website. But is there
Mhm.
anyone, you don't have to mention names, but is there anyone who's kind of popping out at you as, someone who the media and the fans should be ready to hear about?
Not yet. My next steps is trying to get in touch with these guys. I've only had a little time to kind of at least look them up. I don't know any guys off the top of my head yet. I know we have a senior catcher. I can't remember which school he's at, just because I have three of them. And again, I'm still trying to learn all these guys.
Right.
He might be one to watch out for. I know there's a couple arms in there who've logged some meaningful innings at their respective schools. I'm interested to see there and lay eyes on them in person. I think the first couple of games is just going to be kind of, go play your game, go do what you
Mhm.
do, and let's see what you got, and then we can start implementing stuff from there. Obviously, with the initial things that I will implement, but not off the top of my head in terms of specific players right now.
Is there anything specific that you wish to take away from the summer months and then bring back down?
I think just learning. I think
Mhm.
when you're a head coach, there's obviously a lot more on your plate, and in terms of game management, in-game decisions, managing a pitching staff is obviously the biggest thing, and making sure you're not burning all your guys one game, so you don't have any guys for the next game, and lining up your pitching, and that's going to be the biggest thing I'm going to have to learn in terms of, all right, who are the guys who are going to be able to start for me, and who I know that they're going to give me 4 or 5 innings every time they go out there of, 1 run, 2 run ball, hopefully no runs. And then who are the guys, that are going to be reliable coming out of the bullpen, and going to be able to bounce back? Who are the guys that can't bounce back as much? So those guys maybe throw 1 or 2 innings more, so that I can give them a couple days. But um, it's going to be a big learning curve for me, and I'm excited. And obviously, as a young coach, all I want to do day in and day out is just learn some more. So they're gonna learn with me. They're gonna grow with me. So yeah.
And then my final question, which if you've seen any of the podcasts, I like to leave this one a little open-ended. Is there anything else that you wish to say about yourself or this summer with the DCL?
I will say I'm a competitor, so that's going to be one of the things that they notice from me right away, especially the guys on my roster and my team. And then the other thing is, I've already kind of touched on it a little bit, is I'm gonna have high expectations. I mean, coming from the program that we come from, or I'm coming from now, is, I do have high expectations, and my one of my biggest expectations is that I don't care. You're gonna play hard, and if you're not
Mhm.
gonna play hard, there's not gonna be as much opportunity, and that's not, I don't want to have to do that by any means. I think it's summer ball. I think guys should be playing hard and working on their craft just like anyone. But if there's going to be things like that, it's going to be harder for me personally to deal with and manage. Um, so if there are guys who know that they're going to be on the Bobbers this summer listening to this, that's going to be my main message, is just play hard. Just play with your tail on fire, and go get after it, and throw your best stuff, get your best swing off, everything like that, and let the results go where they may.
All right. Well, Cy, thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate it. The Bobbers will open up their season on Wednesday, June 4th, as they take on the Apaches. So, Cy, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. And you have yourself a great rest of your day, and good luck next week as
Yeah,
you open the
yeah,
NAIA tournament.
yeah. Thank you guys for having me. I'm extremely excited to get up to Milwaukee. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully, if it'd be a really really good thing if I'm not there on June 4th, because that would hopefully mean that we just won a national championship. So It'd be really, really, really nice to be a few days late for the opening day. So
Yeah, we certainly would not hold that against you.
good,
Thank you,
good.
folks.
Glad to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you, folks at home, for listening, and we'll see you next week for episode 9 of the DCL podcast. Have a great night, everybody.